Girls are more crazy.
Always. Do you think hot girls are more crazy in your experience as
I've been
well?
around quite a few hot girls, but
Yeah.
some of them can be very balanced. But give me your treatise on hot girls being crazy.
Here's what it is with very attractive women. They don't get an insight into the average man and how average men behave. They get an insight into men that are incredibly intimidated by their beauty or incredibly lustful after their beauty. So they see men either kind of ignore them. So the quiet good guys either just kind of intimidated by them, but the loud, gregarious, kind of adulterous men are after them. So they'll see guys that will leave their wives to be with you. They'll see guys that will drop everything to kind of, even if their girlfriend's in the same room, they'll quickly seek you their number. They'll see guys that will risk their jobs, if they're your boss, to be with you. So they see men as these huge risk takers that will do anything to have sex with you. So what ends up happening is she loses her naivety about a man. She no longer thinks men are faithful. She's seen so many men break up whatever they have just to be with you and just to access you. She's seen so many men who break their back just to touch you. So what happens is when her husband now says to her, oh, there's a new colleague at work, her brain is like, well, every colleague at my work has always hit on me. Are you hitting on this girl? Or if her husband says, I'm just going to the gym, she's like, well, whenever I go to the gym, somebody hits on me. What are you doing? So they end up being suspicious because they are privy to men at their worst when they're sexually attracted to a woman. They don't have that naivety that a more plain woman would have, where she could walk past a guy in a bikini and he doesn't harass her. She knows if she walks past a guy in a bikini, he drops everything. So she sees men as more dangerous than they are, and therefore she thinks her partner is more sexual than he might be. And as a result, she tends to be more intense and crazy and less naive, but not necessarily more accusatory, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back to the OB podcast. We are about to really dive deep into the fascinating world of relationships. As again, Sadia Khan is on it again. We're talking about attractiveness, psychology of hot girls. But before we get started off, you've just heard a little bit about what is going on here. So if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on the fiery discussions. Now let's just talk a little bit about the all age stereotype that hot girls are crazier. And you know what? Well, that might just be some truth to that, but before you start throwing all these tomatoes at me, yeah, I'm here, I'll receive it, no worries. But let me explain. So my friends, brings up some very, very interesting points about how the world looks different when you are, I would say, drop dead gorgeous. It's different. When you are a perfect 10 as a girl, you're not just attracting Mr. Nice Guys who's interested in your personality. Oh, and you're also attracting Mr. I'll drop everything just to get with you. And Mr. I'll risk my entire life just for a chance with you. No, this is getting too philosophical. Let's just go on. Let's just carry on listening. Then I'll break things down further.
Because she uses her experience about the world to predict what everybody else's experience is about the world.
And in her defense, beautiful women are also, it takes a certain level of confidence and a certain level of no fear of rejection to access a beautiful girl. So her pool of men tend to be the men that are more likely to be unfaithful.
Wow, that's interesting. So very attractive women are a selection effect for the kinds of experiences that they have in life, the kinds of interactions that they have with other women and other men. So presumably they'll often see other women as threats.
Well, they've experienced other women seeing them as threats, and they've seen the competitive nature of women, and they've seen women. Because here's the thing with beautiful women: if you walk into a room with a really beautiful woman, all the other beautiful women will now start looking at you, thinking, well, there must be something about. I'm sure they look at you anyway, but they would pay more attention because there must be something about Chris because she's unbelievable. So what ends up happening is beautiful women start to see how disrespectful other women can be. They're looking at your man. They're competing with you because to get a beautiful woman's man makes the other woman feel more attractive. If you walk in with an absolutely 12 out of 10 and then you give me attention, I now think I'm prettier than her. So therefore, I want your attention more than the guy that's with the girl that's not that attractive. So we see this competitive nature of women. We see that we can put women can put men on the map, and they see that men are very soft and they give in to beauty quite quickly and easily. So they lead to a trust issue that is harder to kind of overcome.
So interesting.
Yeah,
to
the
think about
psychology of an attractive woman is one that is very different to a psychology of a less attractive woman. They're two different species.
Well, all these hot girls, witnessing all these men fawning over them, it really messes with their head. They'll start to see men as these wild beasts ready to pounce at the sight of their beauty. So these hot girls, they'll see, let's say they are married, they'll see their husbands innocently talking to a female colleague, and suddenly you're like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Is he hitting on her or something? So it will be messing with her head. It's like, every interaction becomes a potential threat to their relationship. But it's not just about men. I mean, hot girls also have to deal with the wrath of other women. I mean, that's the kind of wrath that most women, if they are really scared of. Ever walked into a room, and felt every woman's eyes on you? Have you ever been in that situation? Sizing you up like you are the next competition as a woman, anyway. So it's not really a walk in the park. It's very difficult. It makes you feel uncomfortable. So all these things, they go on, and a lot of things are going on. So let's just listen to what Sadia has got to say, and then we'll finally just break everything down.
Yeah. So you have women seeing other women primarily as enemies. They're often going to be frosty to them.
Yeah.
They're also kind of hyper aware of the power that they can bestow on the partner that they're with, which probably makes them a little bit tentative about giving that man that power, because if they pre-select that particular type of man,
you're putting him on the map.
Yep. And then you also said that these women, being super attractive, selects for a very specific type of guy that is sufficiently confident to go up and speak to you, or men will make ridiculous and wild U-turns in their life in an attempt to get to you, which also gives you a pretty unrepresentative experience of what most men are like.
Yeah. And then when the looks start to fade, it's a harder transition for them. When the looks start to fade from a woman who is quite plain, she sees it as life. When the looks start to fade with an attractive woman, she sees it as disastrous, because a lot of the power has gone. So they might, not always, but they might respond to it with a lot more insecurity, especially after children. But if she has good values, she recognizes that the looks are replaced with family connection. But if she doesn't have good values and her identity is built on her appearance, you'll see that she'll go to more and more extents to kind of prove her attractiveness, and that might lead to promiscuity. So her identity can't be designed and around her looks. It will make her very fragile.
I know. Let's talk about the dating game, is what we are really, we've not talked about. But, when you're this smoking hot as a lady, you're attracting a certain caliber of men who are confident enough to approach you. But, those guys might not always be the most faithful or relationship ready. And as you age, just like Sadia said, and let's face it, your look starts to fade a bit, and it can be a rude awakening to you. Suddenly, you're not turning heads like you used to, and that can really mess with your self-esteem big time. But here's the thing, ladies. You need to stop basing your worth solely on your looks. Your beauty might open some doors, but it's your character, your values, and your intellect that will truly make you shine in the long run. Let's keep on listening, and I think the last part of this podcast, and I'll react to that.
Yeah,
being an attractive woman must be hard. Genuinely, it must be very difficult to try and go through the world, because with men, typically, their value to the world doesn't wax and wane in quite the same way.
No.
It starts off low. Even super attractive guys will remain being attractive for a very long time.
forever.
You just have this sort of slow and steady increase presumably, and then it'll dip out, and then it'll start to even off towards.
And when it dips, you don't care if it dips. By that time, you're so settled in life, you don't care. But for women, it can dip a lot earlier. And there's a lot of talk about pretty privilege and pretty privilege this and pretty privilege that, but there's lots of disadvantages. And the main thing is people look for your flaws a lot more. What happens when you're not attractive is people can accept what you're saying and doing, and they don't really delve into it. But when you're attractive, there's an element of other women or even men saying, well, I bet she's dumb. Well, I bet she's a hoe. Or I bet they're looking for the negative so much more. And then they'll say, I bet she's really arrogant and very vain. So you almost have to work against people's negative assumptions of your character. As much as they make positive assumptions of your appearance, they make lots of negative assumptions about your character. So you're in a bit of a battle, and then it's not as easy as it might look to other people.
So to all my hot girls out there, embrace your beauty, but don't let it define you. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm taken, I'm gone. But to everyone else, let's not judge a book by its cover, okay? Because whether you are a perfect 10 or a solid 5, we are all in this crazy dating game together. So I think that wraps up OB podcast for today's discussion. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, stay fabulous and make sure you don't base your beauty